Hello!
Ooh.
Greeting you from bottom right for a change. Hello. Welcome to the live show for Fool's Fate by Robin Hobb, book 9 in the Realm of the Elderling series for Elderling Along. You're on my channel. Hello, I'm Jade. These are my lovely friends. Please introduce yourselves.
I'm Becca from Becca and the Books. That's all you need to know about me. And I gave Fool's Fate 4 stars. Again. Yeah.
I am Ashley from Frolic Through Fiction, also rated at 4 stars.
I am Cody from Cody's Book Corner, and I think 4.5. I'm being picky, but yeah, I might change.
I am willing to let you guys change my opinion because I gave it 5 stars. I cried like a baby. Which I now know that you guys didn't, so this will be interesting.
Okay,
Okay.
I really did, and I don't know whether it's because I expected to that I didn't, or because I was in denial, or even if it's because I'm on medication. Who knows? But I didn't cry. It's like, what is emotional?
I think I didn't cry because I knew both things were going to happen. Because do you remember that spoiler that I saw ages ago after we finished the second or third book? The spoiler that I saw was the synopsis for the first line of the synopsis for the next Fitz book, and the top said Tom Badgerlock has been living with his wife Molly. So I knew, which means that I knew something had to happen to Boric.
I was the same.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. That makes sense then.
Yeah.
So I didn't cry at that. I also wasn't really happy about a lot of the sad things and important things happening off page. And also we know that there's 3 more books called the Fitz and the Fool trilogy, so that didn't upset me much. It did, but not to the point.
Didn't make it hurt any less.
It was an interesting one because I'm now surprised that Hobb did do another series because this very much felt like an ending.
Mm-hmm.
I can see why this was an ending, and now I'm just like, why is there 3 more? What happened?
I sobbed like a baby at the last line, which was "I am content." I think because I knew we weren't going to be content for long. I was just like, no. Yeah.
I think the fact that every end of a trilogy for the Fitz books is supposed to be the last book is a little bit of a detriment to the last book. Because when I was putting in, in my spreadsheet, I have a list of all of my owned books, and it's by author. So all of the Hobb books are together. And for all of them, it goes 554, 554, 554. And I don't really like the last book as much, but this one felt very disjointed to me because it felt like 400 pages of nothing, 200 pages of what the book was supposed to be about, and then 200 pages after the book should have ended that felt like the start of a new book. So it was a very, those 200
I feel that because it definitely felt like it should have ended, and I thought, but there's still so much to go, so, what's going to happen? And then I continued to cry.
It's also an interesting one because the way some things were wrapped up, it'll have to be when we talk about spoilers really, but just the trilogy, the structure of this trilogy is weird.
Yeah.
And this book trying to wrap up everything, because we almost had 2 first books in a series with the first 2 books. So it's she started with one plot line, which was the witted stuff, then went on to the dragon stuff. And then in this one continued on with the dragon stuff, but at the end went, oh yeah, this witted stuff happened while Fitz was away. But they've sorted it now and they're going to do this thing.
Yeah, I almost didn't really, with the other 2 series you've read, there was a very clear, this was the point of everything.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, I'm I'm still not quite sure what the main point of the series was. Just kind of went back for a while.
I think it was to heal Fitz. It was to give Fitz back that part of himself that he lost in the first trilogy when he touched the stone dragon. He's now whole. I think that's the point. Just kind of going back and giving him back what he missed, I guess.
And then it's like, that's a very small part of this entire series, if that was the point. Like, there was nothing to indicate that from early on, I guess, besides him.
But also the dragon stuff as well. I mean, now there's going to be dragons again, so that's setting up for the next one too, I guess.
I'm going to say, I guess, the live ship, it was just like, we brought back one dragon, and now this one was like, and we brought back the other dragon.
Yeah.
Now there can be more dragons.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what the plot of the third book is going to be about. Not the third book, the third trilogy. Because I read the synopsis and all it says is a messenger. A messenger goes missing or something, or there's something to do with the messenger and a mystery surrounding it. So because they've already brought back all of the dragons now, and then the next series is about the dragons, I'm assuming like reestablishing themselves. So
this is the thing, because I think you can already tell that the first book of the last series is going to be a lot of like reestablishing again, because we've got the coterie who have just started training again. They've brought everyone in. We've got dragons who are going to be a new thing. So it's going to be again like, and now we have the aftermath. So I think that's going to be probably going to follow the same structure where it's like the first book, half of it is just reestablishing where we're at, and then we go on.
That would be cool. But he's got to have, I kind of have a theory that he's going to have a vision and then be like, oh shit, and come back kind of thing.
It would make sense because risk of spoilers if I...
Shall we just go into spoilers now? Because there's nothing.
Or on book 9, can we say anything without spoilers at this point?
Not really. I think we've covered everything.
Okay.
And you can have 10 seconds to vacate if you haven't read the book.
Just countdown music.
It's like a really long 10 seconds. I'm countdown.
So the whole point I was going to make is that we need a reason for the Fool to come back after abandoning him. Or not abandoning him, but going back to his people and pretty much saying, like, I need to stay away from you because I will change the future again. He needs a reason to come back, which he obviously must have if the next trilogy is The Fitz and the Fool.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting because it's going to have to be, like, big and important enough to make everything, like, him just overrule everything he's already said.
And he was so set in that decision, like, there's nothing you can do to change my mind. So clearly,
he's always
but
been.
He did come back because it was interesting because the way the Fool was talking, it was like a final goodbye, whereas Fitz said that he was going to come back, and it kind of felt more like a thing that Fitz wanted to do for himself. So I didn't expect the Fool to then to come back looking for him. I actually expected them to go back to the other prophet's cave, and the Fool already have left.
Yeah, I can't really think what could happen to bring him back.
Unless it's something to do with the pillars and getting stuck in them, because we never really got a solid answer about what happened there. So maybe a messenger goes missing in the pillars? You said there's a missing messenger.
I'm interested.
I feel like Chade is going to be the one that's going to mess up somehow, and then the Fool's going to have to come back to fix it.
I'm wondering if he's going to be alive.
Lag Legends.
I reckon Jade's going to be there, like, kicking until the very last minute, because he just... I will say One of my favorite scenes was when they were just like, "Do you have the explosives?" And he was just like, "Maybe." It's just like I get to use them. He was so excited about blowing stuff up.
This could be something. It could be Nettle, because the Fool's always been so adamant about keeping Nettle alive and safe and stuff. Maybe Nettle, something happens with her.
I'm actually wondering if we'll see the Fool at all in the other one, because he's had a lot to do with the dragons.
Good point.
But I looked up the time jump was in between them as well. I think it's about 10 years between these ones. I'm like, how old is Shade? Boric must have been in his 60s, so I imagine Shade has to be older, because Boric's the same age as Chivalry. And Chivalry is Shade's nephew.
Shade's probably knocking on like 78 years old at this point. I still reckon he's going to be kicking around until the last legs.
It's so hard to judge age in these books, because do you remember when we were talking about the first book and we all thought that Boric was old and he was actually about 30?
Yeah. Was he even that? I feel like he was in his 20s or something.
Might have been. I think he was about 25 to 30. The only reason I've got him at being around 30 then is because Patience said something in this book about... Oh, no, it wasn't Patience. It was Lacey said that Fitz looked like Chivalry when he was that age, and Fitz is 35, which means that Chivalry must have lived until about 35, which would make him around 30, I think, when Fitz entered this, like when Fitz was 6.
Boric was about 55, so let's say Shade is 75. It's hard to judge as well, because age, with this series, it does what, like, a lot of older inspired fantasy does, where it's like, you know, you're a man at the age of 14 or something like that. Like, it's really hard to judge sometimes. Boric is an old soul. He always reads like he's 50 plus. Yeah, it's interesting. I think we're gonna, well, I hope we see a lot more about the background of the prophets and stuff, because we had a lot of questions open with this one, where it's like them changing color and
or not changing color.
Yeah, what that means. Why they were like, there's supposed to be only one of them and there's just like 3 chilling.
Yeah, I was going to say, for something where we've been told for so long that there's only one, for them to be 3 alive at the same time who all had sort of accurate visions.
Like, I'm the catalyst. No, I'm the catalyst. Not the catalyst, the prophet. It's just like, wow. It was an interesting one.
Be suspicious of everybody.
God, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it might be pretty obvious, though, because I don't think there's going to be too many humans maybe in this next series. Because I think it's told from the perspective of a dragon.
Possibly. I'm intrigued to see what new characters we get in the next series.
Oh god.
Yeah. Did you all notice a huge kind of focus on boobs in this one? Like, oh my god, so many times boobs were referenced and talked about how they moved. Like her chest was always rising and falling, and I'm like, can we stop, please?
Maybe Robin Hobb was trying to get in the mindset of all of the old white male authors that were around.
Yeah, I think she must have been.
It's just like the boobs are more expressive than anybody in here.
Maybe she'd read Game of Thrones recently. I don't even really know where to start breaking down this book. Like, I don't know where we should start.
They're like, oh yeah, Fitz. Yeah. It's really hard to know where to jump in. Like,
yeah.
Maybe we should answer the question from Elizaveta. What were your favorite moments? Because I have one that made me sob, and it's a line that I tabbed because I needed to be sure I remembered it. And it's Heart of the Pack was here, and he had never let us come to harm. And I cried. So I was like, oh, Heart of the Pack is back. And then I knew immediately, I was like, oh shit, he's back. It's not going to end well for him. And I got even more emotional. So that was one of my favorite parts.
The one that made me tear up, the only point that made me tear up in this book was, if I dream of the wolf again, my father says I'm to tell him you should have come home a long time ago.
Yeah. God damn.
Meanwhile, I'm just like, my favorite part is Ched being like, explosives!
My favorite part was probably when Fitz called the full Fitz Chivalry Farseer.
So many good moments.
I was sobbing like baby at that point as well.
I will say as well, all I had was the meme in mind. Do you know when they try to leave the fool behind and then he's just like on the island? I just had the meme from American Horror Story being like, thought you seen the last of me.
Surprise bitch, yeah.
Yeah. Apparently I just amused myself all the way through this one.
You're just vibing.
Yeah, everyone's crying and I'm here laughing at it.
Oh yeah, thick.
I will say the start of this, when it was just thick, being seasick for like 400 pages.
Yeah,
I felt of this book then. And I was like, I get it, it's authentic, but Jesus Christ, get off a boat.
There was where was that for?
I will say the moment where Boric stood up to a dragon was really epic.
Yeah.
I was a big fan. Big
fan. Yeah, that was fun.
There were a lot of small but very bold moments.
Yeah.
Oh, the kiss as well between Fitz and the Fool.
I did get a bit emotional when the bit where Fitz was king for however long, like 10 minutes. And Shade said, well, after 15 years, do we finally have a true Farseer on the throne again?
I like the moment as well where the Narcheska came in at the end. She just like made her entrance. It was just like, marry me!
Yeah.
And Fitz is there just like, tell you will, tell you will, tell you will.
Yeah.
Oh. I did have to laugh at Nettle telling everyone off all the way through this.
Oh no, she was especially getting sassy with Dutiful. When what did she call him? She was the queen of something and he was the king of something.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see more of her and her brother in the coterie in the next series, I'm hoping. And they were on about like they have a really good bond and so they can work together really well. And I'm like, I want to see that. Like, I want to see an actual sibling thing that goes well because it just never happens.
Also, when Fitz held the fool while he cried, it says, I held him while he wept and I held him after his weeping was done. I let him take whatever comfort he could in the warmth and strength of my body. I have never felt less of a man that I did so. The thing, right, I hate the ending of this book because I hate Molly, and I know it makes sense. But these books should be queer, and the more queer they get with it being queer, the more pissed off I get about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't like how neatly this was tied up as well. I don't like a happy ending, I guess, as much as a masochist as I am, because I did want Fitz to have happiness, but it was just a little bit too clean for me. So I'm glad we have a follow-up series.
This is a thing.
It needs happiness. It needs to wrap up nicely and be happy, but with the fool, not Molly.
This is the thing, kind of like, because I tend to just follow whatever the author's writing when it comes to relationships. Like I don't, you know how people come up with their own ships and stuff. I just go with whatever's happening. this is not the case, and I don't know why, because I don't specifically hate Molly. I think I just want Fitz to be content in himself. Because I'm just like, he's gone through so much and he hates himself for so much of this book that I'm like, be happy in yourself. Stop basing it on, if you get this thing done, or if you get this relationship back, or if you do this, then you'll be all right. I'm like, you need to be content in yourself.
I think it's just it's not even Molly. I don't hate Molly as a character. I hate how obsessed with her he's been.
Yeah.
Real life. And I'm like, just let it go.
Yeah. I found it interesting that the whole thing about him being whole again, and the fact that all of his like relationships and past 10 years or whatever that we'd missed was like lost because he'd lost some part of himself. I was like, oh, that puts things into a different perspective all of a sudden. Because then I was just like, well, sure, he didn't necessarily reach out to have these relationships or whatever, but then what does that mean for his relationship with Hap? He didn't not care about him. He still cared about him as much as he would any other kid. But I was just like,
Yeah.
It's an interesting one.
This is true.
Molly's is first / only true romantic love, though.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not convinced.
Yeah.
He was with her for what? A couple of years when he was, not even a couple of years, when he was 15.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it just feels like nostalgia. Almost, you want to return to what you had when you were young and didn't know any better, and I'm kind of just like, it's a bit too nice. Yeah. I would be intrigued to see that the conversation between Molly and Fitz about that, because he's now got back that pain that he felt from that. So I'm just like, while he's going after Ronell, at some point it's going to be like, oh, that hurts though.
I did have to laugh though. I can't remember who it was. Was it Sterling? Someone in the book was like taking the piss out of him, being like, "Oh, what are you gonna do? Go and sit in a remote cabin again for another 10 years? Come home or something." I can't remember who it was. Is it Patience? Someone said something like that. Made me laugh.
Yeah, because his response as well was like, "Why would I do that?" And then he was like, "Oh, yeah."
Yeah.
I did do that.
It kept throwing me that Nettle's oldest brother's called Chivalry as well, because I forgot that he was called Chivalry. So when he kind of came back into it, I was very confused for a little while.
That's kind of understandable to me, considering it was literally a dream person. Like, it's... I just imagine a lot of people, if they've just got this like mysterious figure talking to them who understands them deeply and shit like that, then you're going to build up your own image of them, aren't you?
Yeah, I was kind of waiting for the whole dutiful is technically my son thing to come up, but it didn't. I'm like, well, that comes up later, maybe.
That was actually a thing that bothered me about a lot of the things happening off page, because Ulrich was just like a side note. He literally was just like, oh yeah, he died. We shoved him in the sea. And there was also Nettle finding out that Fitz is her dad. Like, that happened off page. And it was just like, It's not normal for Hob.
Hey, Queen.
Hi, sorry, I summoned a dragon. Delayed me a little bit. We're just talking about our opinions so far.
We were talking a little bit about how much we hate Molly. But yeah, if you wanted to do just do a spill of thoughts and a rating as well.
Molly's a fucking skank, and I actually really don't like how this book ended. And I was just kind of like, I can't be the only person who didn't like how this book ended. So like after finishing, I was like, I just typed in Molly's name and stuff, and I saw like a few Reddit threads which were also like kind of conflicted about how they feel about her. And are we supposed to like her? And I'm like, I understand that she's meant to be complex and everything, but okay, but I can't stand her, and I don't like any of this. And I get that the Fool and Fitz's relationship is meant to like transcend all physical boundaries and understanding, but also I just feel like it's such a dumb thing to go back to. So I hate that. Borrick's passing made me sad. Icefire, I like dragons. The Pale Woman can suck my big black dragon schlunk. And yeah, I think that's all I can think of right now.
Fair enough. Yeah, none of us like Molly as well, and I did not like the ending. Molly spits his beard.
There's
Molly
just
is-
something about it. Like, she's not done anything particularly wrong, but it's also like, even the conversation that he had with the Fool about having to decide between like her or the Fool, or the fact that he brought up Molly saying, you know, oh, she probably wouldn't be okay with Night Eyes, and like sharing him, and I'm just like, well, then she doesn't accept you. And I think that's what bothers me, because I'm just like, she's gonna hold it back.
She accepts the memory of him and the concept of him and like the familiarity and the security other than everything about who he is. Because to like fully accept Fitz is to like accept all those complexities, and the Fool is the only other person who will truly comprehend all of them, and that's why their relationship is just so interesting. And like him going back to her is just such a base thing, and I understand he wants that kind of comfort and like, you know, with the memory situation, but it's such a regression. And like that, I would be so upset if she left it here. I'm grateful there's like another trilogy after this, but that really pissed me off.
I think that because like the whole thing when they were younger as well is that she wanted him to care about nothing else apart from her. And she even brought that up in this book about she wants to be everything, essentially. And it's like, that's not really realistic in any relationship, because like people have shit to do. Like if you think of some of the relationships that would be in this series, you've got like, there's a ton of soldiers and guardsmen who have important responsibilities and aren't home with their wives all the time because they can't be. And it's just such an unrealistic expectation of anybody.
She's toxic. Like, sorry, I'm going through the comments and seeing like someone said, hold on. To Megan Rich, to me, Molly is just Fitz romanticizing the simple life he wishes he had, but he isn't meant to have. And I'm like, yes, that's literally it. And I understand he's so fucking tired, but it's also like in the beginning of the book, it like starts out with him being like, oh, I actually feel like all of his old wounds were healed and stuff like that because of that invasive healing and whatnot. And so it's like he's already better now in a way, so you would think that he has a bit more self-acceptance, but I don't know. that decision at the end just felt very ick. It gave me ick.
It's interesting because it seems like all the way through he's just like looking for a life that he wants to have, whether it be a simpler one, but then he had the simpler one and he wanted his old relationships back, and it's just like, dude, just accept what you got. Or like do something about it, because you know, you can't just keep being sad about it. And it's interesting because Jennifer said that I think Fitz needed to be with Molly to fully heal. Probably why I necessarily don't get on with that idea, because I just don't as a whole. Like, I don't think you should rely on other people to heal. So I think that just goes against me in terms of like, no. That's why I'm just like, I feel like he needs to be by himself. He needs to not, because he's basing his entire life on other people, and I'm just like, dude, live for yourself.
And it's like, obviously, like, we're reading through the lens of Hob and stuff, and like I saw this in a Reddit post, and I really agree with it. It's like the way Hob writes about the decisions Fitz makes is like through like a lot of love, like, and a lot of sadness, like when he fucks up, but it's like, because we're seeing everything from his perspective, and he seems like he's so well aware sometimes of like what other people are thinking and like how rash other people can be, or what he predicts will happen and whatnot. We also forget that he can be very rash in himself because we're seeing it from his perspective, and it's like, oh, he's so understanding, oh my god, like this crazy thing happened, no one could have predicted this. So it's like, I think him thinking what's the best decision for him is not the best decision for him, because like and it's hard to like not see it that way, because you know that you're seeing it from his perspective, if that makes sense.
Yeah. He already did the by himself for 15 years, but that wasn't healing because of the fact that he had part of him missing, he didn't want to live. We're not saying like he has to be by himself, just not in a relationship where he puts all of his mental health on somebody else and they are his sole reason for living.
It's not necessarily by himself, it's for himself. Like, he doesn't need to literally go and be in a cabin in the woods by himself. Genius. He just needs to not live for other people. And I know it's hard because that's the position he was put into. Like, his entire life has been under like the Farsian line and all of this. But it's interesting as well because Marley said that Fitz's problem, though he's constantly looking at the greener grass rather than being content with what he has in the moment. And there was a point made of that because it was always like, live like a wolf. Think about now. So it is a thing that, you know, is mentioned and is a point of the book. So it's probably just showing that we did a good job at writing that. But it also means that for this ending in particular, it's a bit like, there's not necessarily much of a closure, I feel, for Fitz. Because we've almost gone back to Molly.
How old is he now? Like fucking
35.
Yeah, like I was gonna say 30 to 40. Like, bruh. Man-child behavior. And like, I do see this comment like talking about the mind-body concept in the book, and like obviously he still suffers from depression, and that's obviously really real. But I feel like when it comes to the mental aspect of it, like there's no healing that's really gonna deal with that anyway. Oh, I wish there was. But it's such an important part of his story, if that makes sense, and the way he deals with it. And sure, he's depressed, but he's trying so hard. And it's like, I think the reason we carry on feeling so worried about him going back into this relationship is because it's not going to help him in that aspect of his mental health. It's literally just going to deteriorate, because God forbid anything happens with Molly, anything negative happens with Molly. Could you imagine how he would crumble again? Because he's just not prepared for what he carries on putting himself into.
I think we're actually going to see something happen to Molly in the next series, just because I kind of get the feeling that everybody apart from him and the Fool are going to be dead. So all of the characters from the first trilogy. In this trilogy, we've got a lot of the younger ones, like Dutiful, Nettle. Dutiful now has kids. And I feel like in the last trilogy, it's going to be like he's going to be replacing like Burrick and Shade as like the elder members. So that means that like Shade's going to be gone. I reckon we're going to lose Molly because I think that this is going to be the next trilogy is going to be about a final kind of closure, I guess, for him and the Fool. Whether that's like I don't know, like a happily ever after or just some sort of resolution. But I do think because it's like a non-romantic soulmate kind of thing they've got going on, or at least not romantic in the terms of. See, this is the thing because it's like not. It's just the way that Fitz processes relationships that just are just not. Just because he keeps making it about sex all the time. And it's just like that's not what it has to be about for a start, even if it was, but that's not what it has to be about. And you can have strong relationships and connections with people without it being sexual, even romantic relationships. But then seeing as like asexuality is something that's only really been talked about in the last, is it even a decade, really? I feel like that is another example of Hobb being ahead of her time in terms of the LGBT rep in these books. And
So are you saying that you think the Fool is asexual?
I don't know if he is asexual, but whenever Fitz brings it up about a physical relationship, the Fool's like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. And it made it very clear in this book that he does see Fitz as more than a friend, possibly in a romantic light, but not necessarily a sexual light, because the Fool has always been, he's never spoken about anything like romantic relationships or anything.
I think they're definitely.
I'm sure in the last book, the Fool said something about how he hadn't waited for Fitz, and if Fitz thought that he was waiting for him, he was delusional because he had had sexual relationships with other people, and it wasn't about that.
Mm-hmm. Like that gives the insinuation that there's an element of that. There's an undercurrent of that in their relationship, but it's not primary thing. Like I agree with you. They're definitely soulmates. Like that's. Like because again, like no one is going to fully understand Fitz the way the Fool does, and I feel like if Fitz could like see outside of himself for a goddamn minute, he would be able to comprehend the Fool in the ways other people just don't, or at least be the closest person to somewhat comprehending him. But like sex is just so base, and because like when we talked about like the Night Eyes arc, and everything, like Fitz's witted self, essentially, like he does have a tendency to see things to their most basic concepts rather than like the more complex elements of relationships, and he just can't, like as Ashley said, like he can't go past that barrier because he carries on fucking hating it, and then he carries on going back to these simplistic relationships, as he has pretty much done with I feel like almost every person he's been in a relationship with. So it's like he's not really progressing on that front, and he's already gonna hit 40 soon, it feels like. So.
Yeah, Charlotte said Phil is the most romantic relationship in the series by far. It's just not sexual.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. It's almost like they take the soulmate aspect and literally mean soul. Like they are one and the same, even if they're not the same species, as Nikki said, I think it was. Which I found interesting in terms of that whole conversation where it's like, well, did you ever think about bedding Night Eyes? No, you didn't, but you still loved him, didn't you? It's just like that very like blunt, I'm just not human situation. And I'm like, well, what are you then? Like I need more like background.
The end of the book being called Fool's Fate already made me feel so upset. And so like, you know when you have that moment where you think like the Fool passed away, bruh. But then it's like, you know, the ending happens and it's just like, I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with how you left the fool in this situation. I understand they need to talk and stuff, like him and the black man, but I don't like the conclusion for him, the fate for him or whatnot. So I just think that like Hobb just did a lot of people dirty in this book. Like I love her, but I hate this.
I think it's one of those things, like, I completely understand why he ended up with Molly in the end, and it, like, kind of makes sense. But, like, I don't know what the circumstances were around her, because this was intended to be the last book, but was that her, or was that a publishing contract? Like, did she know that she wanted to write more books, but she hadn't been contracted for them? Or was it, like, she actually intended this to be the last book? Because I don't see... It's kind of a bittersweet ending with Fitz and the Fool, how... they've achieved what they're going to achieve, what they went out to achieve, or the Fool went out to achieve anyway. And it is a perfect point that, like, if the Fool is in Fitz's life, then that changes the future, and the future can't be changed because this is the future that they've tried to make. But it just feels like, I'm like, would she leave? I guess we'll find out when we get to the very last book, but would she leave a relationship like that?
I feel like from what I've seen, because I think I follow her on Twitter, and I feel like I've seen her be asked, like, are you writing anymore within the series? And she's been like, technically no, but I never say never, because she's like, she can always think of more. So I feel like she kind of had a continuation, but yeah, it might have been a thing where it wasn't necessarily contracted, or she didn't know when she'd do it. She didn't necessarily know what that story would be. But it does feel like she knew she wanted to write more, to me at least, just because there's quite a few open endings in terms of like the coterie is now being established, and they've just like opened up the skill to loads of people, and we don't know where the Fool's gone, and like there's still a lot of things to explore. We haven't seen the dragons. Like obviously the next series is coming, but there's a lot more we could do.
I thought it was after the series that she literally just finished that she said that she could write more, but she's leaving it where it is for now.
I think so.
The thing that I read, she said that she doesn't plan on writing anymore, but that doesn't mean that she won't. It's like, I don't think the series suffers from her keep ending it and reopening it in terms of like, in terms of the growth and the development of both the plot and the characters. That is still really strong, which is weird considering she already ended the trilogy and was like, no, actually, I want to write more. And I think that if it would have just been left at the original Farseer trilogy, then it would it have even been an epic fantasy? Because it wouldn't really have been that. I don't feel like the plot line was on the scale for it to be epic fantasy, but she's managed to construct this epic fantasy plot line without the series suffering, which is like really damn clever in terms of plot and making everything make sense and it being a realistic like progression. But I kind of want, because I'm going into the last trilogy, or when we get to the last trilogy, thinking that everything's going to be resolved, and if she says that she can write more, I'm like, well, how much is
I don't think I get that. I don't think the last trilogy is going to resolve everything.
I think okay, but I think it depends on what we mean. Like, because what if it no longer is about Fitz? You know what I mean? Because it's like, if she's written it in the sense that like it's an ending to this assassin, whatever the frick story, and he's old as frick, being retrospective, so it could be just moving on like dutiful or whatnot. Like there's so many other stories to be telling, and you know, like I think it's also going to be like maybe a continuation of the world, but not necessarily Fitz. But sorry, I just saw this thing on Reddit because I was thinking about what you just said, and like someone said that, oh, would Molly have gone back to Bart? Like, would Molly have gone back to Fitz if Bart was still alive? And I'm like, Well, she did have fucking like 5 whatever the fuck kids with Boric. Would she have gone back to Fitz, or is she going back because she feels comfortable and she needs someone to rely on? Obviously, for understandable reasons, but also.
I do
Boric,
think that's the
yeah.
Boric died though, because I don't think even Hob would have known the answer to that.
I think Boric believes that Molly would have gone back to him if he'd have come back. So, but it's just crazy. Like, I mean, I know that they knew each other when they were teenagers, but like she's been with Boric longer than the amount of time she lived when Fitz left. But even Boric still thinks that Molly would have left him and gone back to Fitz if Fitz would have come back.
I think we all forget that Fitz is sexy. It's been said by many characters.
That's,
But
you know,
man.
Yeah, Boric is a man, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I do kind of feel like Boric was just kind of killed off so that we didn't have to deal with that though.
okay.
Okay. Oh, I'm scared. But
See, she said, but let's just think about it. She said realm of the elderlings. She didn't say anything about Fitz.
well, if she follows the pattern, it won't be about Fitz. It'll be dragon-like, but then it might not be because we don't know the spoiler that the series is about. So.
I just want him to die already. Like, no offense. Like, love you, dude, but I just need you to die now. Like, stop making poor decisions. Just end. Like, you've now had your happy ending. I hope you have a good few years of your happy ending. And then when we come back to you, shit gets fucked. And then you die genuinely, like, I've lived my life, you know? Not like, and like, I accept myself and I know who I am now. Not like, like waddling around like, oh my god, I made so many mistakes, I should have realized earlier. Like, no, I want him to die knowing who he is completely and making like maybe a major decision which is like fully in the know of who he is, and then the fool dies with him and it's great, and then everyone moves on.
I'm wondering now, knowing that there's more books to come, because I kind of assumed that this series was going to end with the death of Fitz, and now I'm wondering if it does.
Possibly, because we keep seeing him writing stuff, so I just have, like, if the series ended with, like, a final thing that he'd written as, like, a summary, like, of what he'd learned or something, then that would hurt.
That's so bad.
It would. But the Fool, because, like, if this was intended to be the last and it has a bittersweet ending with the Fitz and the Fool would have to go on while Fitz died, which would be another bittersweet ending.
Mm-hmm.
Why they need to die together. Like, shoot them both at the head at the same time.
What Fitz still needs to do, kind of changing the subject a little bit, is learn the wit from Webb. He still needs to do that.
He does definitely need to do that.
Yeah.
So I think maybe we'll touch on that in the next one.
What did we think about the way that the wit was told in this one? Because
Swift. Like Swift, like his entire relationship with the wit, and like that's what was going in my head. But carry on.
The Piebalds and the Old Blood stuff that started off in the first book as being like the core plot of the book. And then we started with the Dragon Quest in this and the political alliance between the Out Islands and the Six Duchies, so it was like the first book was wrapping up the last one with having this weird stuff as a plot. And then this was the start of almost a duology. The second book was the start of a duology about this quest for Icefire's head and that alliance. And then this one carried on with that and wrapped all that stuff up. And it's kind of like she realized, this is why I'm so confused. It's like she realized at the end after the dragon stuff that she was like, oh, I did that whole book about weird politics. So like then they were talking about how Catrican had to see Fitz immediately and he got lost in the pillars, and the Old Bloods or the Piebalds were the Old Bloods killing all of the Piebalds, but it was all sorted while Fitz was lost in that stone, and he comes back and they just tell him that it's sorted. And it's like that.
And it was that totally random realization that they had in the middle that it was all Siddle's parents that were involved in it all. Like, I can't remember how he reached that realization. Wasn't it a conversation with the dragon or something? He was like, oh, shit. It was Siddle's mum. There we go.
Yeah. And then
Like she was doing all that shit for her parents.
That was it. It just feels weird because I'm used to her being really good at like plot construction and everything, and then this one just felt really disjointed to me.
That month time skip where he just like is like, oh shit, I'm back, but it's been a month or whatever the fuck. It's like, Hob, this is a bit cheap for you. Like, I love you, sis, but what's going on?
The amount of times like Fitz just went missing either by passing out or somewhere, and then he'd just like pop back into existence, and everyone would be like, "Oh!" And it's just like, "Where did he?" It's like, "I've got stuff to do. Sorry." It's like,
What was? Oh, and Molly told Nettle who her father was while he was unconscious. He spent the whole book dithering about it.
and then he was just like, "Oh, I'm glad I don't have to decide now." It's like, we've just spent like 6 books of you being like, people are gonna find out though.
Yeah. And him being like, I won't let the Farseers use my daughter, and then it's like that.
Now oh, it seemed almost like wrapped up a bit too quick.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been an extra book's length, I think, if she'd have done it all.
Yeah.
Makes me think that there was something happening with the publishing contract in terms of like, did she know? Because we were saying before, did she know that she wanted to write more? Maybe she was just contracted for 3 books and couldn't extend it as she would have wanted to.
That first book.
Did she publish the rest of them with the same people?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, all of the ones I've got, all of the original UK ones, and they're all Voyager.
Yeah.
But then it's like at the time of publishing, there weren't many fantasy authors that were pushing like 9-book series. And she's ended up with how many? Like, they might have just been reluctant to keep giving her books until they realised quite how popular this could be.
Mm. I'm wondering how much it's going to tie into the next trilogy, all of the witted politics, and whether that's going to be actually something that's a focus. Because the first book just doesn't make sense. Like, why it was about what it was about, if it was then going to go in a completely different direction. Unless she just changed her mind.
I mean,
also there's like loads of like throwaway lines that had me like, wait, can we go back to that? There was the bit where they were like talking about who the others are really, and they're like discarded elderlings or dragons or something. Do you remember? There was like a line about that.
It was like the dragons that came out half formed or something, and they were like, island.
They're the others.
Yeah.
Just one throwaway line, and I'm like, wait, what? Skip back. Yeah, and if you think about it, there's like been so many little moments, like the Narcheska doll thing that they found on Nova's Island, and then obviously the rooster crown from like the first series. Now we know literally has different bards in it. It was just loads of little bits.
Their connections to the dragons, I'm wondering if we'll come back to, and if we're gonna, that's how we'll see the fool in the dragon series, maybe, if he's trying to like figure out what that was all about, because he was just carrying it around for a while. But then he was like, "Oh, it wasn't
for him." Who did it for?
He put it back on Girl on the Dragon.
Oh yeah.
He was just like, "Oh, I just needed to return it." That was it.
Exchange for Fitz's memories, the pain and stuff. She gave it back.
Sorry, someone said inverted dragons in the chat. It's really funny to me. I've forgotten my YouTube password, so that's really awkward. So I can't comment. But I thought your comment was really funny.
I wonder if that was Well, no, because she didn't intend to write the dragon books either, because this is where the big gap is in the publishing schedule, I think. Because I was going to say maybe that was like kind of not setting it up, but that'll be something that'll, you know, how when we were reading the live ship traders, we noticed how they were referencing things that happened in the Farseer trilogy that we thought were throwaway lines, but actually made sense when you read the next one. That might be something like that. Especially if it's about dragons, because the dragons, maybe we'll see the birth of some new others. But it don't make sense, because aren't the others like little fish people?
Yeah.
With,
I think
Which
someone said
kind of
it's
makes sense if they come from sea serpents.
oh yeah, because that's the pre-dragon.
yeah, dragons tainted by humans, apparently. So like elderlings gone wrong, but not really like the opposite. You know what I mean?
And like what Charlotte said, what we learned about the dragons and the doll felt limited by Fitz's lack of interest. That's something else that we learned with the first one compared to the second trilogy.
Yeah. I was getting annoyed with him. I was like, no, you should care more about this information, Fitz.
Well, that's the thing, though, because obviously we now have the Dragon series coming. But there's a lot about dragons that is limited through Fitz's thing, because there's even like, there's got to be more importance in the Rooster Crown, I feel, just because of how many times he mentioned the fact that he was carrying those damn feathers around. And then they just like notched it all in and was like, oh, there's bards in here. And it's like, okay. I do like the imagery of him finding the last piece needed to get his own memories back from trading that, though. I like that. But there's also the thing with like Nettle is just able to annoy Tintaglia enough to control her, kind of. And I'm like, are we going to see Nettle in the Dragon series then? Because she's just like prodding at Tintaglia mentally.
I fucking love Nettle. I would love it if Fitz died and we just followed Nettle doing, I don't know, just anything. What a bad bitch.
I think there's potential for one of the kids, well, the characters that are currently children, to become elderlings. And I was thinking maybe Nettle, because she's the closest to Tintaglia at the minute, like Selden was.
Yeah.
But there's also the youngest boy that's got the skill, that they found out has the skill. I can't remember which one it was. Was it Just? And Swift, because he's got the wit. But he's not in contact with dragons at the minute, because he's with Web. Also, Hat is a minstrel, training to be a minstrel, and it was the minstrels that have the relationship with dragons that were trapped in the feathers.
I thought it was really cool that was Wizardwood, and because when they first said it was Wizardwood, I was like, oh, is there going to be a dragon in there? Because that's what Wizardwood is. But the fact that it was people, I'm like, oh, how can that happen? I guess it's like when they're quickened in live ships, that you bleed on it and stuff. That was really cool. I like that. It's good.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the tie between blood on the crown and blood on the ship.
Yeah, that's how they brought the full back, really, wasn't it?
Like imbued memories into it,
I did find it funny when the fool was explaining everything, and Fitz is like, so am I descended from a dragon? And he's like, no. We're not part dragon. Selden simping for her while Nettle and Iron with a dreamstick. Because it's like Nettle kind of reminds me of later life ship Malta. Just with like the stubbornness, I guess.
I do like Nettle in this one. Oh, somebody else who I thought might be a contender for being an elderling is Thick, because he's really strong in the skill.
The way he just started like bringing everyone back.
Yeah.
And I'll heal you. And I'll heal you. I'll heal you. It's like,
when he's like, this one's too hard, I'm gonna go do this one instead. And it's like, no, Thick, we know this one's too hard. That's why you're here doing it.
yeah. That's why we
love his.
I was so mad that they threw Burrick over the ship, though. I wanted Fitz to be there in his last moments. That really annoyed me.
How that was just mentioned so offhandedly, because he was like, I'm going to guess Burrick's gone too. And he's like, yeah, Throw him in
Side
the
of
sea.
the ship. Yeah.
Excuse me?
Because it makes sense that he wasn't there when the fool died, because then we had the whole resurrection of the fool, which was the main point, and then the fool leaving was the high emotion bit as well as the resurrection. But we didn't have that with Boric.
Mhm. It just really confused me because I was like,
Boric was done dirty. Yep.
Mhm.
Carry on.
because there could have been a whole moment where I would have been like bawling my eyes out, especially had he actually lost, or like at least believed for a while that he'd lost both the fool and Boric, and like had seen both of them. Like if he left that island thinking the fool was dead, and then saw Boric die, and had the whole like, I've just lost them both. Like those were the parts where I was like, this is gonna get me, when he actually believed that he was gonna lose them both. But I just didn't get that because I was like, well, I'm in denial about the fool, and then the fool came back, and Boric just got yeeted into the sea.
Mm.
So I was like, oh,
Mm.
okay.
I think it might have been an editing thing with this book, because the longest book she's got is 900, isn't it? Is that Hope of the, was it Ship of Destiny is, or the middle one, whichever one it was.
Gotcha.
So I wonder if, because this isn't, she could still have gone for 100 pages and been like before she hit the 900 page mark. But I wonder if to make it less than 900 pages, a lot of it had to go.
But then I'm like,
Maybe.
if that was the case, what was the purpose in having 400 pages of Thick being seasick
Yeah.
versus everything at the end?
I really expected Thick to be really important in this book.
I fully thought at one point, you know, because he was so adamant that he wasn't getting back on a ship, I was like, what if he rides a dragon?
Yeah.
Like, what? Because he was also like hand in hand with Nettle at one point, and I was like, well, Nettle can talk to Tentacula, so what if he ends up just having a connection with a dragon? No, they just took Pillar back.
Nettle and Thick's relationship was so cute though, just like the ally friendness. It's so
the little like reunion they had. Well, union. They hadn't actually met before, but you know, when they first saw each other, and apparently Thick just bounded over and hugged her. She's like, whoa.
I love that's just so pure. And like, hold on, I just want to make sure this isn't incestuous because it might be. But like, I weirdly like, I understand that Dutiful has a thing going on with that other princess chick, but I was like, I don't know, my brain was just like, ooh, him and Nettle. But I thought about the cousins or some shit.
Their cousins.
Well,
Yeah, I
also,
take it back.
Well,
We're not doing George
siblings.
R. R. Martin in this shit. We could continue.
I do
Technically
think
siblings.
though, because of the banter
Yeah.
between them, but they are their siblings.
Can we take a moment to talk about how badly that she did the fool in this book too? The fact that his back skin was like skinned off of him, and all of his hands were messed up, and did she really need to go that hard on him? Like, it was so
And how
hard to read.
the pale woman mocked him to the point where Fitz can't call him beloved anymore.
I know, it's brutal.
When Fitz has only just come around to the point where he will call him beloved.
Yeah. Sorry, I brought the tone down, but I just
No, it was definitely rough, especially because it's the fool as well.
yeah, it was really rough, and the fact that he was like saying Fitz's name as well at the time, because it was so brutal. I almost did like get that feeling like he's not coming back, because why would she put him through this much to bring him back to have to deal with that? But oh no, she did that, so that's fun. He's gonna have a lot of PTSD for a while from being skinned alive.
I will say the part that I was like, oh, that is heartbreaking is when he says to Fitz, like, do you ever get over it? And Fitz is like,
No.
Yeah.
oh. They've both been tortured. Poor children.
I was going to say it feels worse when it was done to the fool than when Fitz was tortured. And then I was thinking that's because the fool isn't somebody, he's like not the hero of the story, but neither's Fitz.
I feel like it will be a lot about the perspective as well, because Fitz cares more about the fool than he does himself.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to care more about the fool's torture than we are Fitz's.
He also dissociates and definitely dissociated a lot through the process of himself being tortured.
And even the point he made of like, about, because he said something like, oh, I at least had the knowledge of getting one over on Regal while I was being tortured, whereas Fool was just like being tortured for no good reason. Like he had nothing to keep him going.
How are you gonna call this book Fool's Fate and then you literally do him the most dirty? You're like, his fate is shit. That's it. That's what his fate is, and then he fucks off. Hob.
I'm still kind of a bit pissy about how Fitz treated Hap, just generally.
Yeah.
He's more concerned about the kids that he's got. He's more concerned about Molly than he is about Hap.
Mm-hmm.
It literally raised Hap for like a good, how many years? About 8 years or something? Or was he 8 when he got there? But he just keeps forgetting about him. I forgot about him. When Shade said, I think it was Shade said that Hap had been to see him in the infirmary, I was like, oh yeah, shit.
Yeah.
Still exists.
Yeah.
Which
I really did care about his relationship as well with that lass. Like it kept getting brought up in the first 2 books, and I was like, where is this going? I don't care. You know?
I feel like it's almost just there to kind of see Fitz as a dad, since we've got so many, like, he is a dad, but like he hasn't been. So this is just like, this is what he could be.
There was
like
also that also that reflective scene where they were like, oh, the things you hate seeing in yourself, but you still see in yourself, you wouldn't want to pass on to your children, etc. So we have that reflection with Hap as to why Beric raised him the way that he did. Was that his only purpose? I don't know.
It is also.
I was just gonna.
Oh no, it's not actually. Never mind. Go on, Zach.
I was just gonna say, it's like we only really see it. Okay, even though Dutiful is technically his son, still cousin, like we really like see more so his like relationship with like daughters rather than sons, and I think that's kind of interesting. That's why it's like I feel like Hap's been put to the side way too much, and I hope that there is some relevance to Hap's existence, because I feel like at this point he has so many adopted stepchildren, but none of them are getting adequate attention. So it's a really funny situation for someone who was like fatherless to now be like fathering everyone, basically.
You just mentioning about like we haven't seen him with daughters. One scene I did like was when Nettle was just like, he didn't come and talk to me, and it's like, oh, I thought you didn't want me to, and she's like, no, but I wanted to see you try. Like, I don't know how to deal with women. It's just like, I don't understand, and I'm like, that's just so relatable.
She's a teenager. Like, come on, man. You know these are her difficult years. Like, Fitz is proper acting like he's still not acting like a teenager sometimes, and as if he wasn't probably one of the most difficult teenagers.
He didn't really have a very normal teenage experience, though.
Like, I hear that, but not gonna lie. Like, okay, so I've been watching Avatar: The Last Airbender with my roommates, like rewatching it because obviously I watched it as a kid. So we're on season 2, and there's this scene where this goes onto the top of a mountain in the middle of the storm, and he's just yelling out, like, throw lightning at me, you've already done everything to me that you can, wah. And I'm just like, this is Fitz. This is actually Fitz. Like, okay, cool, you've been through shit, but Jesus Christ, like, you're a bit melodramatic, man.
I do have to laugh when he like walks into all of Molly and Burke's children, and it's just like, wow, 7's a lot. And then it's just like, you've adopted like 4 within yourself. So it was also the point where like he made the analogy of, oh, this is what Burke must have felt like when being dumped with me, when he had to look after like Thick for a while, and it was just like, oh, I guess I've got another one now.
The reference right at the end when Fitz and Molly got married to Hap saying something to Nettle about being her stepsister, being her stepbrother, there we go, that's where I'm going from. Hap said something to Nettle about now being her stepbrother, and it's like, lol, you've always been a stepbrother, really.
I do like the relationship that Nettle and Dutiful currently have, where it's just like I don't know, they're kind of just really frank, and you can tell they would be like the winding each other up type siblings, where it's just like.
Can you just imagine the time skip of all of these kids, like, hella older? I just want to see that drama. I just want to see Fitz struggle dealing with all of these teenagers as they're going through, like, fuck knows what. Like, maybe two of the boys have a crush on the same girl, and he's like, I don't know how to deal with this. Like,
Well, he's got rid of two of them now because Chivalry's married and one of his brothers has stayed with him. Nettle is at the keep, so he's only got 4 left, Annie. The 4 youngest, though.
Hap's gonna go gallivanting around singing.
Yeah. Keeping up with the Farseers. I like that. Yeah, I found it weird how all the kids were getting married and having kids, like Dutiful and Chivalry as well. Because I think Dutiful's the oldest and was
Chivalry at the end of this? How old were Dutiful and Chivalry at the end of this?
I think Dutiful was like 15 or something.
And Chivalry has to be younger because Nettle's the oldest, and Nettle was conceived slightly before Dutiful, so they're about the same age.
Like, I thought Nettle was, oh my god, I've been imagining Nettle was like 19 or something.
No, she's only about 15.
But then it's like,
this is disturbing.
Wasn't there in the first series, didn't we find out that like they technically become men at like 13 or something?
Yeah.
I don't like this. I'm just gonna stop talking now.
Jessica just got bruised and she's already pregnant. Oh. I did like seeing Dutiful and now Jessica come together though, because I'm just like, we've been striving for this for so long.
I didn't like her. I still don't think I like her very much.
I don't love her, but I just like seeing them two together.
She definitely grew on me. I did like them together.
It's interesting because to me it felt like, do you know how this book is, well, this series is essentially about getting time to stop repeating cycles. This felt very much like the same thing as Verity and Ketrigan. So it was interesting that cycle, because like they had the big problems with the politics between the Mountain Kingdom and the Six Duchies, and then they had big problems in this book with the Out Islands and the Six Duchies, and treachery and all of that stuff. So it did feel like a very similar kind of thing.
I feel like the whole thing about them wanting this marriage and this challenge to behead Icefire so that they could get her mum and sister back, very long-winded. I was just like, surely it would have been quicker to just go and try and do it yourself.
Phoebe's comment, I can't. It's like, now Jessica coming down the stairs with a bat was out.
The scene where she just fucking battered someone. I was like, fair.
Oh, Beck said, can we talk about Drugged Fitz? Drugged Fitz, I loved him.
The way that he was just babbling.
And just like kept cycling through topics. That was the best time. One of my favorite parts of the books.
It's when the fool was like, can you just stop talking? And he's like, no. Such a mood. Yeah. Now Jessica's family being kidnapped was super obvious. I really do feel like it was very long-winded, and we didn't really like stick around to see that. Or like why that was such a big deal. I don't feel.
Does anyone else feel like this book was actually significantly longer? And like whoever edited it was like, fuck this, fuck this, fuck this, fuck this, fuck this, fuck this, fuck this. Because it just feels messy. And I just really hate, like, I didn't realize that everyone was so young. And I have such bad ick right now.
I think this is a problem we've had from the very beginning, though. Everyone is so much younger than we think they are.
Like Boris
And it's like,
Yeah.
but like, what's going through my head is just like, even that relationship, like, it gave me ick. Like, remember how mad I was originally when it happened? I was like, it's a betrayal of trust. Like, you can't do this. But whatever. And then, like, I was like, fine. Like, they clearly seem good together, and clearly he's doing something right if they've had so many kids. But now it's like, listen, yeah. What I have so much respect for with Hob is just like, she really like drags out the ages of her characters. Like, she's not scared to like have a variety of different ages, and like the kind of dynamics that come with that, like different kinds of wisdom, how like no matter how old people can be, they can still be very ignorant. Cool. But why is, with so many basically children, it just feels a bit like, I get like in olden days they used to do that, but like, did you have to do it in your fantasy book that has dragons? Was it necessary? Could you not have like done like a 4-year time skip or something? Then I would have been a bit like, okay. But I don't know.
I feel like Molly was only 18 when Fitz was 15, just for the Burrick plotline. To make that not even weirder than it was already pretty weird.
There were things that didn't matter, like the seasickness. See, I'm just like, why was there so much about Thick being seasick?
I thought this was going to be really important.
So I thought, like, unless a fucking live ship comes in at this point, it's got an affinity with the live ship somehow, then I just don't understand why that was so long. So I'm just like, why?
It kept being mentioned how strong his skill is, and we were seeing while he was seasick how strong his skill actually is. And then there was points throughout the book and how he's now mastered just being able to heal people by himself, and he doesn't need anyone's help to do that. Like, normally they'd need a coterie to do it. I thought that he was going to be like crucial to the end battle in this book. And he just wasn't.
You muted, Cody.
Whoops. Maybe she just keeps them young at the beginning because she doesn't know how long she's going to keep the story going for. So she's like, if I make them really young at the beginning, then I can keep them going till the 90.
But like, young kids having kids is just literally like a preparation for some horrible pregnancy and some horrible body scarring and like issues. Because like, just because you've had your period, it doesn't mean like your body's completely ready to stop. Okay, now some people are saying there was a bit of a time skip. Okay, I feel better.
There wasn't, I don't think. She was pregnant because when it did the 3-year time skip at the end, they mentioned the baby. The baby's called Prosper, so the baby already exists. So I think the pregnancy was before the 3-year time skip.
I'm gonna reread that part.
Okay. Somebody mentioned earlier, but it was like a while ago, like how icky it is. The Patience and Molly have both been with Boric, like Fitz's mum and his wife.
Oh God, yeah, I didn't think about that. I don't like that.
This book is daddy issues. This is just daddy issues. What is this series?
The only good romantic relationship in this entire thing, well, in the Fitz books anyway, because like Brash and Althea, is the Fitz and the Fool. Everything else is a bit weird.
I guess she's keeping the ages traditional in the sense that it's, a farming community. Everyone needs to get married and have kids young so they can have people to work on the farm, and then everyone dies when they're like 40 or something. But yeah, I feel you on the ages and stuff. And that, weird.
Isn't Chade old as fuck now, though? He's like fucking, 60, 80? I don't know.
Yeah. Skills keeping him going.
Like, he already was like white haired and shit in like the first book, wasn't he? And now he must be like ancient. No offense. You're doing great, sir.
I can't find any reference of Prosper's age.
What
It
Bex
just says that Prosper is a hearty, healthy boy. It doesn't say how old he was.
But he exists, so it's at least
He
been.
exists, but it's been 3 years. It's been 3 years, and Prosper exists. So does that make him 3? When did we find out that Narcissa was pregnant?
was it when it was in the time that Fitz was writing to Molly and sending her gifts and stuff, I think, that we found that she was pregnant. And then we have the 3-year skip. But Bex mentioned something about Patience and Lacey, and I absolutely yes.
Yeah, I see
Like,
it.
yeah.
Oh, but then Lacey died. It's all
Aw.
pain. This series is all pain.
Was that a thing? I didn't know if that was something I missed because I was listening and not reading like the last bit. Because it was just like, we went to Lacey's funeral, and I was like, "What?"
Handkerchief on a grave, so it's like I finally went to visit Patience and we put a handkerchief or something on Lacey's grave.
Yeah, and I was like, "Did I miss something?"
It
And
is
then
all
Patience moved in with them as well.
apparently.
Oh.
Yeah, there was a hint about Riddle and Nettle. You know, for the longest time, I was convinced that Riddle was Rosemary. But no, Riddle is actually a character. Because it kept making, like, Fitz didn't know who Riddle was. And then he was like, oh, I think he's working for Shade. And then eventually he was like, no, he's definitely Shade's man. And I was like, is it Rosemary? You know, like how Shade used to have the Lady Time thing going on?
Mm.
But no, they're definitely separate people. Yeah, I love Patience.
The way
Why
that
couldn't we choose a happy series to read, man?
The adult epic fantasy.
I'm just
Yeah.
happy that we're not gonna be with the Fitz the depression. Enjoy your fucking time, sir, with your hoe. And we're gonna be like, dragons! Like, aren't we so excited, guys? We have a quartet and it's gonna be dragons. And there's just dragons and Dragon City places and dragons.
I'm a little bit concerned just because it was originally marketed as YA, so I'm like,
Yeah, that makes me a little bit dubious, but we'll see. It's Hobbs, so hopefully she still goes
I
there.
know, like, you say that, but there's a big difference between Sanderson YA and Sanderson adult, and I don't like the Sanderson YA writing style, so I'm like,
This is
please
true,
stop.
but also Mistborn gets marketed as adult, so I mean YA. So
True.
we'll see.
everyone's so separable.
I just remembered because I said that I think pretty much everyone's going to die. That means Patience is going to die.
Yeah, she'll be next.
I'm more worried about Ketrican. I'm just like,
Oh god, yeah,
I'm
Ketrican.
still a Ketrican stan.
I mean, she's younger than Fitz, I think. Or is she the same age?
Oh, that's a good point, actually.
She's younger than Aaron,
Yeah.
but I don't think she's younger than Fitz, actually.
I think she's a little bit older than Fitz.
Oh, no. To be fair, Fitz is the start of the next series. I think he's in his middle 40s. He's about 44, 45, I think. So that's not too old. So Ketrican should hopefully be okay. But I actually think a good endpoint, in terms of like the actual plot of the series and the fool's goals and stuff, I think a good endpoint would be Dutiful, like established on the throne with like 2 coteries and a selection of heirs. So it's like a strong, like, founded thing.
I can imagine Ketrican like stepping down though. Like I can imagine her handing it over to her son and just being like, "I'm cool. I'm just gonna go chill over here now."
Wait a minute, Overdose Chill Pill just said 60s for the last series. That means that by the time we start the series, everyone's already going to be dead.
depression session right from the first page. Then it'll be like, just to catch you up, here's everyone that's died since the last series. Be 2 pages long list.
There's lots of people dead.
Yeah, Chade'll still be kicking it about.
It's interesting that it was referred to at the end of the book as Nettle's coterie because he was supposed to be the Skillmaster.
Yeah.
He just fucks everything off at the beginning of the book, or in the last book he was like, yeah, I'll be Skillmaster. The end of this book he's like, yeah, I'll be king. And then right at the end of this book he's like, I'm just going to go.
But he can't publicly be any of that, can he? So they have to call it something. Because he says the people that know he's fit are the important people, and like no one else needs to know. But you can't call it Tom's coterie because nobody.
Good old Tom over here.
Yeah, Fifi's just said I don't actually own the final trilogy yet, which is probably good because if I had it, I would just pick it up right now. I don't have it either.
I'd read the blurbs. I'm not going to deny it. I'd read all the fucking blurbs. I'd spoil myself. I'm trash. Carry on.
I think they're all of the ones in the last trilogy are really thick. Am I back?
Yeah.
All I said was that I think all of the books in the last. Yeah. I'm just gonna look at my internet. Is that okay? Okay, I think I'm good. I think we're stable again now. Okay. I said watch me cut out again. It wasn't even interesting. I just said all of the books in the last trilogy are really thick. Was it?
Thick, like the character. Ha
Sure.
This is such an intelligent conversation. I'm so grateful we have so many people here.
This is just fucking in response to Marley, the next 2 books will be bi-monthly, but the second 2 books will be monthly. It's like the rule is if it's over 500 pages, but like I think the first book's like 530 pages or something. I was like, you know what? It's over 500. We'll do it in 2 months.
I appreciate that. Let's see.
Really do.
Wait, pause. So let's just calculate here. How much longer till we actually finish and find out what the fuck happens at the end of this bullshit?
Exactly a year. This time in a year, we'll be doing the last book. We've already been here a year and a half.
Easy is that? We've been suffering so long. Robin Hobb has us all in a chokehold right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not in a happy chokehold. I was happy all this time until this one. Honestly, the main thing that's redeeming this book for me is the dragons. Like the Twin Taglia stuff, the Ice Fire stuff. Yes. And then like properly understanding the Pale Woman. Yes. Give me the magic. I don't give a fuck about this politics. Woo! So I just love that we're going to be like fully delving into that into the next one, because I feel like I didn't expect to like Live Ships as much as I did, but I honestly think like looking back at it retrospectively is probably my favorite series out of everything we've read so far. Like out of all the trilogies we've read so far. So
did anyone think that the Pale Woman, do you know, when she was saying that she is she said she's the real White Prophet because White Prophet should be white and the Fool isn't white. Do you remember that? Did anybody else believe her for a minute? Because it was only when she kind of started talking that I realized that we believe the Fool because he's the Fool, but if he wasn't the actual White Prophet, he wouldn't know.
Yeah.
like either one of them could be the true White Prophet, but neither of them would know because they're just responding to the visions that they get, that they believe to be true. But then we did get the explanation later where the black man said that the pale woman was white because she didn't change anything. And I was like, oh my god, that is such an obvious thing that like has never clicked. Like every time something changes, the full changes.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
I want to know what his story is then, because you just went complete opposite. So I'm just like, how much did you change? What did you do?
Love Hannah saying Zaf just realizing what she signed up for. Yeah, like a year and a half into it. It's like,
Listen, yeah, I knew what I signed up for. I knew we'd be here for a few years, but I didn't clock that literally it's like, so I just turned 25 a few days ago. I'm going to be 26 when we fucking find out what this dickhead is going to die like. I hope he dies. I just want Fitz to die. Just just free me from this hold.
I just want to know who his mom is, because apparently we've already met her, and I'm like, where? Because it was referenced a lot in the series as well. Like, he kept remembering her shouting Keppet.
What a stupid fucking name as well. Is he a frog?
No, that's Kermit, my love. Yeah, so I'm just like, is she actually going to be important? I'm intrigued.
Like, Patience is so lovely that you still got to wonder what made Chivalry act so unchivalrous. It's like, it's been so many years and we're still wondering. Like, she must still be alive, surely.
Maybe.
I think Patience will still be knocking around, because she's always the one to just be like, everything you're doing is awful.
Not Patience, I'm talking about his actual mum.
Oh.
Keppet, Kermit's idiot cousin.
I don't think she'll be important, but I do think we'll find out who. Just because family is such a big deal as well. And it's always been like, where did he get his magic from? The whip.
I feel like there might be some backstory there. Like, there was something to create the catalyst, the changer that needed to be done by maybe a previous White Prophet or something, had to bring Chivalry and his mum together in order for Fitz to be a thing, maybe? Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but
It was interesting because as we were going through this book and he was having thoughts and they were talking about the dragon and how he put stuff in it, I think he pretty much, because he's writing the series from a time when he's older, do we think that he put his mum in the dragon and that's why he actually has no memory of her? Because he got it back at the beginning. He said he'd never forgotten his mother. So I'm kind of assuming that he put her in the dragon.
yeah, I thought he
and
did.
he's writing
And
the
then
story from when he's...
Yeah.
And then he got her out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think so.
I wonder if we'll see the thing where Dutiful goes to see Verity's dragon.
I wonder what happened to Boric, how Chivalry shut him off. And I also want to know how Boric has such strong wit that he can do stuff that Webb can't.
This was a thing, because we had that with Boric, and then we've also got Nettle and Thick, who have more power than they should, or like than they know of. And that was another open-ended, actually, the fact that they've just regained the Skull Scrolls, and he was just like, oh, we've basically realized that we're all just wandering around like boys with toys. Like, we realized that we don't actually know anything. So I'm like, okay, well, do we learn then? think eventually he might do.
Yeah.
I don't know, because would it serve a purpose?
Seems like a good source of conflict.
Oh, the Variety and Chivalry swords were cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just getting really sad.
Are you okay?
Like, you know, like everyone's no, I don't actually. You know, I'm not about this. I think after the betrayal of Game of Thrones, like I just want happiness. Like, oh my god, everyone's suffered enough. Can you just die? I'm sorry, I carry on saying this. But like, here's the thing: if Fitz does die, I want Nettle to meet her grandmom. I just think that'd be really cute. Like, oh,
Not me being
she
like,
never-
who's
Huh?
that? Not me being like, wait, who's that? Because everyone's like fake parents at this point.
true, but I mean, like, I would like Nettle to meet like Fitz's mom.
Yeah, okay.
Probably because to me, Nettle was like the only valid child. I don't really care about the rest of them. No offense, but yeah.
Well, I said it's not necessarily that Burrick's stronger, that he knows a different way to use it. But how does he know who taught him?
Also, when? Because he had the whole story of like his family always said it was a bad thing, so he's always seen it as a bad thing, so he wouldn't actively use it from like very young age.
Well,
So
then
when would
didn't
that
he also say that, like Fitz rebelling against Burrick, he rebelled against the people who told him not to use the word?
And then he admitted to being bonded to the dog and stuff in the end. So he was using it.
Is the dog
actively.
that he was bonded to the one that got stabbed? Was it that one? In the stables.
Oh.
It was Vixen or something like that.
Yeah.
It was one we knew of. It was one we knew of.
Oh wait, no,
Thought
the
you
one
said
that got stabbed.
Blitzen, and I was like, the fuck? Like, what is... Why is it called a Christmas thing? And then I realized I'm done. Carry
Wasn't the one that got stabbed Fitz's second dog after Nosy?
Oh, I can't remember. There's been too much trauma towards animals in the series. I don't know.
What was that one called?
Nosy's mom is Burrick's.
Is
Yeah.
Vixen.
Yeah.
Jessica said I want to know who Thick's dad is, and I did kind of. I had a feeling that Thick and Fitz were related.
Yeah. Maybe I was thinking it would be one of Regal's bastards, maybe. Or maybe is that age not work? I don't know. I don't know how young Thick is. I can't remember.
He'd have to be at least 15. Which I think he is.
Or one of Shades.
Yeah.
Smithy was the second one that was bonded to Fitz.
Ah, yes.
Oh, the dog that Burrick was bonded to was the one that he had that mothered Fitz.
Mm-hmm.
Thick is fairly old. It's hard because they never give like an exact age for him, and he behaves more childlike than his actual age.
I think he's around, like, he's not far off Dutiful, I don't think. He's somewhere around the same.
Could be shrewd.
He's strong in the skill, which implies that he would have some Farseer heritage. Possibly.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have to, but... Wondered if he could be like Fitz's brother, but from his mother, not his dad. Because his mother abandoned him as well. Or that could just be like a source of bonding between them as opposed to actually like foreshadow or anything.
Yeah.
Oh, and that story where Thick's mum abandoned him and then changed her mind and came back and he was looking for her.
Yes.
Can we talk about something happy? I'm just getting sadder and sadder, man. Like,
Oh yeah, and Fifi said that Thick's mum is older, but so's Fitz's.
I don't think there was anything happy in this series.
maybe
No.
something. Okay, Nettle.
Happy
Thick,
dragon sex.
beautiful.
Lots of dragon sex.
Oh god, too much dragon sex. Like
So
me
much dragon
the
sex.
wedding and just
Yes, let's go. Woo! Dragons.
The way that everyone took it is like a sign to also be horny that night. It's like the festival where they were like, hey.
Shade has been with a lot of ladies, that's true.
I did like the dragon fight between the stone ones and the real ones.
Oh,
See,
God,
Dragon's getting a happy ending. It's such a good lead-in to just the next 4 books being about dragons. Like, woo! Because I don't feel like we know of people getting it in, but we don't really experience it as much. So I'm really hoping the next 4 books. Wait, you did say that they were kind of originally going to be like YA or whatever, but I'm just like I really hope we have like a lot of dragon romance and stuff. Like,
well, they'll all be related, won't they? That's another thing, actually.
why do you take this away from me?
So they're all related.
So much incestuous dragon sex.
No! It's fine.
I found it really sad that Icefire was just like so depressed that he went and yeeted himself into an ice cliff.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, mood.
That's me. This is the ice. Boop.
Just like, sure, just preserve yourself in ice forever.
Yeah, Nikki Malio said that Fitz's mum didn't abandon him, but he thought that she did, which would be the source of bonding between him and Thick. Even though she didn't actually, that's how Fitz felt about it. Why would he?
Oh,
go on.
I was going to just randomly say, like, I wonder what, like, his maternal grandfather is thinking, just seeing Fitz fuck up everything on the road. The royal family, like, oh shit, I'd put in there.
I was wondering why Fitz's grandfather would do that, because, like, I get that the way that it was framed in the first book is that Fitz was a bird and he couldn't be asked and he wanted him to go back to back to his father that got him or something like that.
Yeah.
But, like, the audacity to walk up to, like, just with a child and be like, take this to the prince. It belongs to him. Do we have anything else we would like to touch upon in this book?
I don't think so.
Agree with overdose kill pill. It's magic, dragon, incest doesn't matter. Ha ha ha, it doesn't matter. Like, they need to make more dragon babies somehow.
Eventually, it will be a lot less incestuous in about 6 or 7 generations, I guess.
Do we have any, like, predictions, I guess, for the upcoming series? I reckon we're going to see more of Nettle just because she also has that connection with, because we saw her, like, updating, was it Bingtown or something, on what had happened to the dragons. She's just like, yeah, they're over there somewhere. I've just sent them to the desert. Told them there's really good sheep over there.
I'm interested. I guess I'm kind of hoping that the next series opens, like, both of them open up the world a bit more. Because we haven't seen much of Chelsead yet, and also I want to see where the Fool's from.
Yeah. Then they're going to be raising dragons, so I'm like,
Yes.
the conflict of that going to be just dragon baby's not going well.
I also think for the last trilogy, I think Molly's going to die, hopefully early on, and I think Fitz might die at the end.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
What's Molly or Fitz?
To Fitz. I don't care what happens to Molly, but I don't think Fitz is going to die.
Also,
It's so annoying because whether Molly dies or not, we're still stuck with her. Because even if she does die, he's going to be moaning about her.
And he has to deal with all of her fucking kids.
They'll be old enough to deal with themselves by then.
Yeah, but like they won't have any like grandparents because Barrick's dead, and then she's dead, and it's just him. So he's gonna have to be like, all right, then I guess.
And
Oh my
he-
god, I have to be a parent, but I never had a real parent. No one taught me to be a parent. You ungrateful fuck.
And he's got 6 kids. No, Borick's got 6 kids with Molly, and Fitz has 3 of his own because he's got Dutiful, Nestle, and Hap. That's 9 children.
Wow.
Yeah, fuck kids. Nah, I'm good. I don't want to have kids anymore. But I think Fitz has enough for all of us.
Oh god.
I don't know if Fitz will bond again. I feel like he kind of... I don't know, because like a big part of the thing is that he's witted. But also I think
it's going to be a big part of him learning the other side of the wit from Webb and perhaps bonding
not
again.
necessarily fair.
Or maybe learning to use the rest of the wit that doesn't involve being bonded.
Yeah,
I really
I'd be bonds with a dragon
shit with the Fool.
or some shit. Sorry, Becca?
I really wish it. Well, I want it to be more of just him and his relationship with the Fool. That's all I want. Ideal opening scene Fitz and I realised it was really fucking weird, so I'm amicably divorced. Probably. No, I can't say that word. Amicably. There we go.
Considering the trilogy is the Fitz and the Fool trilogy, it's bound to happen, right?
It's pretty different.
Molly's dead, and then the fool comes back in, and he's like, "Oh, I'll comfort you," and then he's like, "I realized, oh, you can really comfort me."
One
That's
thing
not gonna happen. That's really dumb. Huh?
Isn't one of the books called like Fool's Assassin or something? And I'm like, are we going to see
That's the
Fitz
first
killing
one.
someone on behalf of the Fool? Because there was also the thing as well where like the Fool was kind of disappointed that he didn't kill the pale woman, and now she's died. I'm like, I wonder if that's going to affect Fitz's decision to do it again if somebody wrongs the Fool. Like, well, you got to die now.
What's the second book called? This Assassin's Fate is the last one, isn't it? And the first one's Phil's Assassin, even.
What's it called? The Tawny Man? Or is that what we just read?
We just read the Tawny Man.
I'm really intelligent. I read books.
Will Fitz be the one to chase the...
It's Fool's Assassin.
Yeah, that's the first one. And then
Yeah,
Fool's
then it's Fool's Quest, and then Assassin's Fate.
Fitz going to kill the bitches that tattooed the Fool and the pale woman's orders. Fitz just goes on a rampage killing everyone.
Like, is it bad if we read the blurb of the first one?
I'm not gonna.
I'm going to. I'll mute myself.
Did she say the blurb of the first one? It doesn't say anything.
Not taking any chances.
I always look at the next blurb when I finished. Actually, I still had 50 pages left when I looked at the next blurb, so I was like, I just really need to look at it.
It's really hard to judge where like the next thing's gonna be, because this is quite a sudden. We're done.
Yeah, you're right. That blurb gave away jack shit. I'm so annoyed. Like, spoil me. But anyway, carry on.
What things do we have? Obviously, the series fits in the fall. The first book is Fall's Assassin. Something about a messenger going missing.
In the
What could we
synopsis, it pretty much says Tom's been married to Molly. He has a statue on his fireplace, and there's something about a messenger and a mystery to do with the messenger.
Yeah, like some messenger dude comes, and then there's a blood trail, and then he's like, "Oh shit!" and then his life goes to shit. That's basically what it said. I accidentally read the first line of the second book's blurb, and I closed the tab immediately. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to look away.
Oh shit. Okay. It's all going to go tits up, isn't it?
Yeah, the messenger.
Wait, Cody, have we got to the point where you read it or no?
Oh, yeah, I was past, like, I think, where's Cass up to? Cass was like the furthest in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Cass is on the first or second book in the last trilogy.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I know nothing.
Yeah, a messenger fits and then he disappears and leaves a blood trail. He doesn't know what the message is. He doesn't know who sent the message, and he doesn't know what happened to the messenger.
Yeah, immediately close that. You don't want to accidentally read anything to do with what the second thing says.
I can't.
The curiosity is now fucking killing me.
Yeah. But then it's like, I know I got spoiled by doing that last time. So.
Yeah, I've learned my lesson. That was really stupid. I thought that, this shouldn't matter. Like, let me just like scroll to and then nope, shut up.
Well, it's like, which one was it on the second book of this series where it just says like straight across the thing, Night Eyes is dead, and it's like, wow, thanks.
I find it really annoying how like certain times like the blurb isn't really telling you much, right? And it's fine. Like, I feel like for this one, okay, we know that they have to go on a journey, but it's not really spoiling anything. But then like what I just read is like, here's fucking spoilers, like fucking really bad shit. Okay, don't look, listen. You won't have any dragon babies from me if any of you look. And this includes the people that are watching. No dragon babies for any of you. No dragon babies. I know you want to look.
It was Golden Fool, where I was just like in the third line or something of the synopsis. It says, "Night Eyes is dead." Great.
Yeah, I remember that's how that was spoiled for me too. I was like, I'm dumb. Why do I not learn my lesson?
I only look at the next one when I finish the one before it.
That's why I only buy the books as we're reading them, because I know my temptation is like...
We got anything else? Are we done?
I think so.
Okay. So that was the live show for Fool's Fate. Oh my god, it is. I thought I'd forgotten then. We will be back in November for whatever the first dragon book is. Is it City of Dragons? Is that one? Maybe
Dragon Keeper, I think.
I was gonna say I ain't got a clue because it's like dragon something, dragon something, dragon something, dragon something.
So for the next series, the first two books are going to be 2 months each. They're only like 500-ish pages, but it's also like Christmas, so it's better that we just spread those out. And then the last two books in the series monthly because they're really short. But
wait,
yeah,
so isn't the next live show going to be in November?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, I thought you said December. Sorry,
No,
I'm dumb.
But that's it for this live show, guys. Thank you. This is Jade's channel.
Carry on.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Jade, for hosting this on her channel.
Hey, all I did was put up the live show and click the comments, really.
And you will see Jade in another video very soon if you stay here on this channel.
I mean, it's likely. Yeah, that might happen. All right.
Highly recommend. She's super cool.
Thanks so much, guys. All right, I'm going to press the end button now. Bye.
Bye.